Welcome everybody back to Ringside View on the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. Today, I'm going to be the host, Adam Cousins. We're joined by the usual host, the man that owns the channel, Mr. Andy Burrows. Andy, how are you doing, my man?
I'm good, mate. It's good to have some time off work and get to do some podcasting during the week. But yeah, really looking forward to this one, mate. Really excited about this one. Local promotion for me as well. I'm excited.
Local promotion for you, yes, very much so. So this is Ringside View. So when we take you kind of, I wouldn't say behind the curtain as such, but these are the shows that we don't necessarily interview wrestlers, but we have had commentators, we've had referees, we've even had promoters before. And today we're joined by the International Wrestling Network's very own Mr. Billy Wood. How you doing, Billy?
I'm very good, gents. Thank you for having me on. It's really appreciated, and I'm looking forward to it as well.
We are as well, Billy. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day for joining us. Billy, to begin with, look, for people that have been living under a rock, explain International Wrestling Network to us.
Yeah, so it's got a entwined history, should I say. So my actual history in promoting British wrestling in the UK goes all the way back to 2008. So this is actually I guess it's my 16th year. Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Good maths there by me.
Quick
So
maths.
yeah, I'm my 16th year in British wrestling, which not on and off. I have to admit, I have taken time off in that time period for work reasons and family reasons as such. But the International Wrestling Network essentially started in 2015 as Fight Nation Wrestling. So Fight Nation started in London and then was known to kind of tour a lot of Seaside and Kent Town. So we did from Eastbourne to all the way down to southwest to Weymouth. Do a lot in Kent, so we did Canterbury and what have you. And in 2017, we started really getting real good traction, selling out our shows, doing some real good weekenders where we would go across the country on a tour rather than just doing one-offs. The opportunity came to buy, at the time, IPW UK, and I purchased that in May 2017. And we'd merged IPW and Fight Nation, and went with IPW as the branding, and we got rid of the colon UK. It was International Pro Wrestling, and IPW ran with myself until its closure at the end of 2019. So that's where it's from. That's International Wrestling Network, and where we've come back, we took a massive hiatus naturally, but we were discussing if we did something, what should we do? How should we do it? And what fits? And after speaking out, I felt a previous promoter was so connected to the IPW UK brand. Prior to my time and prior to my knowledge of buying the promotion, obviously. With that, with regards to some of the earlier history, we looked at it and felt we didn't really want to come back as that. In the background, someone else is still pushing out the old footage, and whilst we own it, we don't care. We on it.
Don't worry, we know who you're talking about.
Yeah, earn your £20. It's fine.
Yeah.
It doesn't really affect my life. I spend more than that on lunch, so if that's what he wants to earn, he can do that. But we decided, we looked at it and said, well, IWN Live was a massive part of IPW. The on-demand service was IWNlive.net. So everyone watched all the footage of IPW and Fight Nation on the International Wrestling Network. Because the idea with the International Wrestling Network to start with was to create a channel, which we did with different promotions on it. So from ZTW in the States to other US promotions, we had a few UK promotions on it as well. And we just liked the IWN branding was always the same as my version of IPW branding. So we was like, well, why don't we just call it the International Wrestling Network? And that's it. That can be the headline of what we're doing with the brand. So we did that. We came out officially and relaunched and opened up the socials again. Made it clear about the statement that our history doesn't start from as IPW. So back in whenever 2004, which again we own, and I want to put that on record, regardless of what anyone else says. We purchased it. We own. But this International Wrestling Network started in 2015, and it's the merged history of Fight Nation and IPW. And then we led to our return in September, which was well received, and we've started to really kick into gear back into 2023 and into 2024.
Wow. What was the reaction like when you did reappear from obviously people that had known your work previously? We all know what's gone on with IPW and everything that's gone on. We're not going to get into that. We're not here for, that. But how was it for you personally, obviously coming back with what had gone on in the past, now relaunching such a great wrestling company, and you're putting on great shows, you're putting on some great matches, you've got great talent on your card. You've only got to look at what's coming up next Thursday in Milton Keynes, which is literally 5 minutes up the road from me. You've got such good talent on it. But how was it for you personally, Billy, when you do put yourself back out there into the wrestling world, knowing what had gone on in the past?
Yeah, look, there was a bit of apprehension. There was a little bit of apprehension because whilst I am thick-skinned, and I am, and like people can say what they want, you know, people will always have their favorite promotions or their not favorite promotions, or will try to knock you for badness, or because let's be honest, in life we all run businesses or work for businesses that might do well, might do bad, might go under, might go in liquidation, but there's nothing like the professional wrestling business when people lose a lot and they get their balls hung up on a wall for losing a lot, when building merchants can go under owing millions and millions of pounds and no one gives a flying F, let's just say. So there was a little bit of apprehension because whilst it was really good with IPW and we did some amazing stuff when we took that on, you know, Unit 9 being a big example of that monthly show that we had and the crowd we created and the cult following there, and some of the bigger shows that we did in Maidstone and Rochester and so, and we put on good productions, and we always looked after the paying audience, let's just say, with good content. There's no denying that 2019 was a really rough time for me, both in professional wrestling and out of professional wrestling. I won't go too much into the personal stuff, but whilst I was still working in a very successful job, there was a lot of personal change at home, which meant that my resources needed to be elsewhere. And I started feeling aggrieved, losing money in professional wrestling, if I'm honest. And that kind of feeling aggrieved because we had some real disasters. For example, me honouring my relationship with Noah meant that we lost a lot of money on a very small show at Unit 9 for the IPW Junior Heavyweight Tournament. But I'm a big man of honouring your deals, and you do that, so we did that. And then we had WrestleMania weekend in New York, which was an absolute disaster. And that's a podcast in itself of what I was promised, what I turned up to, what I ended up being extorted out of my pocket whilst being in New York to the venue. And you don't mess with New York mobsters, let's just say that. But it was a big eye opener, and it made me think, why am I doing this? Because yeah, you know what, promoting's a risk, a massive risk. But that 2019, especially after NXT UK kind of taking all the talent, that was an AEW as well with Kip and others, we had to kind of rebuild. I don't think we were ready for that. And I think maybe if I was a bit smarter like Andy Quilden and went introvert a little bit with my talent and rode the storm, we would have been okay. But I went the other way. I thought, well, God, I've got to replace. Everyone's looking for really good talent, so I've got to go and replace them with bigger names. So I've got to spend more, and the balance didn't work, and it did kill my personal motivation and the momentum of IPW, and I take the full responsibility of that. So coming back, that was I would say the biggest worry was, oh God, everyone's going, oh, what's Billy Wood doing again? Because about 4 months prior to that, I nearly ended up buying 1PW. So, and I ended up being put the director for a day, which
I think Adam's face says it all. Thank God you didn't.
Yeah, which scared the hell out of me. But then saying that I had a plan for that too. It was only when I covered the dark detail of debt that we didn't do the deal. It was literally on handover. I found 30 grand's worth of debt, and I was like, whoa, like.
Yeah, see ya.
I understand there's this amount of debt, but I didn't know about this. So I didn't do that. So there was apprehension. But to be honest, the feedback was immense. our socials really kicked into gear. People started remembering the good times. We obviously made it very, very apparent. We showed obviously the success and what we did with Kip Sabian, with Pretty Deadly, who, oh my God, I love seeing what they've done now. And I'm so happy that we kind of put them together, and that other people, they take full responsibility for their success. And I've got to give a lot to Johnny Bailey as well, Hustle, because he was really mentoring them and helping those lads. But obviously they all worked for me, Fight Nation, and then into IPW. And that was kind of started in Fight Nation, ended in IPW, ended up in WWE. And I think things like that, I kind of started looking fondly on what we did and said, actually, no, we actually provide a really good level of professional wrestling. We can do that. We don't have to lose our house to do it, but we can do it. We can excite. We can bring good crowds together, and we can do it in small, intimate venues to repopulate the brand again. And it's gone down well, really, really well. And we're now 3 shows back in. We'll be by the end of next week 5 shows. We've got a back-to-back situation with Hastings and Milton Keynes, and it feels good because the interactions building. You know, we've had to start from bottom again on Twitter. We lost our Twitter account, but our Facebook and our Instagram both near around 17,000 people. Our YouTube's nearly 10,000 subscribers, and it's gone crazy over the last month. We now can monetize it, which is great. And we're uploading moments. We uploaded the moment, and I forget about a lot of these moments when we had Jeff Jarrett as a surprise come out and save Hurricane Helms from Kip Sabian, MJ being number 30 in our Rumble. You know, little things that you forget about, and you start scrolling through the history and looking through the hard drives of content, and you go, oh my God, you know, really, we've got a storied history, and I think that's what people should understand, that we are that version of ourselves again. We are the most excited version of this brand as IWN than we've ever been, and with that, I'm spearheading to make sure that it stays on brand.
Yeah, definitely.
Great answer, mate.
Yeah, and it definitely looks that way. Your champion, I know very, very well, actually, from Wales, Mr. James Ellis. Yeah, we do a lot with him and some of the boys over in Wales. So I know very well. Coincidentally, he could be a double champion come April, as he's going for our championship, funnily enough, which we have on a show.
Couldn't possibly comment.
You couldn't possibly comment, no, but he could well be. But anyway, talking about shows, and you mentioned that you've got a double header coming up. I mean, it's kind of a rare feat with promotions to do double headers, one day and then the next in 2 different locations. Some of it with the same roster. So I've seen the matches that have been announced. How does the preparation for that go into doing a double header more than just one show in a location?
I've always found them easier.
Oh, okay.
And I know it sounds really stupid, but we are in a phase now where content creation is key for us. There's lots and lots of promotions out there, and what happens is you put a show on, it's amazing, then you put another show on in 4 months' time, and in between you're scratching for content, you're scratching to keep things bubbling. You know, I look at Sovereign Pro, Shotty's company up in Manchester, and look, I have strong opinions personally on the usage of soap stars and things like that in professional wrestling. It's just not for me personally.
Didn't Les Battersby main event or something?
Yeah, well, he was part of it, and I get why they've done it. They've done it as a laugh to start with, and it caught some wind, and they got some good press. So they got some good press. They got press from it, but that's not what we are presenting International Wrestling Network as. We want to present it as pro wrestling at its finest. That's kind of our thing. I just look at it like this: how are we going to sell our product? For me, having 2 shows means 2 shows worth of content. We haven't got another show till May, which actually is there's more shows to be announced. Not announced yet, but it's actually our official 9th anniversary in May of the history, Fight Nation IPW, International Wrestling Network history. So we need stuff to lead into that, right? And content is going to be the key for us. But going back to what I was talking about the promotions, you can kind of go, you can do really good stuff, but if you go quiet for so long, it's really hard to keep the momentum going. And I get it, a lot of promotions don't have the finances or resources to be able to go every month or every 4 weeks or every 5 weeks, every 6 weeks. They have to make the money to then sometimes pay their losses, so it might come out of their own pockets for a normal job, to then, right, okay, I need a couple of months worth of wages coming in and a bit of ticket sales to about maybe do it in 2-3 months time. And we're kind of not in that space. Don't get me wrong, I have had to financially kind of say bankroll, but do stuff. So the Black Box Hastings is a venue that I own, so there's relative costs and income streams that you don't get from renting the leisure centre or anything. So I obviously take the bar and what have you. So it's, if people, the idea is that people buy a ticket, then please drink as much as you possibly can, because I need to make money behind the bar, right? So that's the element there for us with Black Box. But the way I look at doing Milton Keynes and Black Box is we can rack up less expenses by keeping people on the road together as well. So if people come, for example, James Ellis and that come from Wales and they're coming over, if they're going straight back to Wales after MK and then to Hastings, then there's a financial hit on that, let's just say. But if they go to MK, stay, drop down, then go, then actually probably getting a little hotel or somewhere for them to stay probably cut my cost down. So I look at it as a bit of a cost exercise as well, that if you can do 1 or 2 back to back, it helps. It really does help. We did it for our anniversary 2018 in Maidstone for IPW. And we did anniversary one night and final counter another night. And the final counter night had Marufuji on it. And that was the drawing point. But in between both shows, I literally booked a resort for about 20 talents to stay at. But what that done is, on per head cost versus them all driving in from up north and wherever, it made more financial sense. So I just look at it as trying to cut your cloth accordingly, but also really comes down to producing content.
Billy, you mentioned content there. Obviously, myself and Adam, since we've been doing this a couple of years now, we've been doing Hitting the Turnbuckle. We've been to many UK wrestling promotions. We're really good friends of everyone, and we work with Ignite Wrestling. We work with Apex. Adam just recently been to the Rev Pro thing. How do you view British wrestling at the minute? Because it used to be seen as a stepping stone to WWE and AEW, but now I think the British promotions, and Adam will atone to this more, he's been to a lot more UK shows than I have recently, they can stand alone. They can stand better on their own nowadays, if that makes sense. Gone are the days of, oh, we're just going to go and work for them because we want to eventually get a job in the WWE. Don't get me wrong. That's the holy grail, and you would love to eventually go to a WWE. Do you feel now that British wrestling stands alone on its own? And we've got household names like Will Ospreay, like Robbie X, like Michael Oku, all great wrestlers like that who are, they don't really need to go to the big leagues. Don't get me wrong. No one's going to turn down going to the WWE. I'm not saying that.
But I'll take a check tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. I think we all would. If they rang me and Adam up today and said, host our podcast, we'd be gone. But do you think that British wrestling can stand better on its own than it used to back in the day?
Yeah, yes and no. Yeah, yes, in a sense, there's promotions out there doing well. I think now there's probably more promotions that we used to always say, that we've said this back in the day, like even 2016, 17, we would go, bloody hell, there's loads of promotions. But I actually think there's more now. Which means there's more opportunity for jobs for people, which is great. But at the same time, how many promotions out there are putting on, like NGW are doing great. Like there's a handful, but I don't think there's enough places still in our context of wrestling. So I look at wrestling as two sense. So you've got the family entertainment, your Mega Slams and All Star, and I know All Star. There's a lot of changes at All Star in the last couple of years, but your Mega Slams and your All Star and those touring circuses as such, and they are like a full-time business. And I'm sure some of the professional wrestlers that work for them do okay. I'm sure others don't. So it's not sustainable as a full-time profession. Within independent wrestling, and I was looking at this the other day. So I'm going to be honest with where we're at. So we're selling 100 tickets, 150 tickets to shows. Right, that's where we're at the moment. We're not overstretching. Rev Pro going to do 2,000 and it's amazing and it looks great. But then Andy then straight back into the 229 and doing Southampton in these smaller rooms because it's a certain type of professional wrestling, right? It's for the wrestling fans. It's for the ones that will go, oh my God, they've got Luke Jacobs versus X, or Robbie X is facing Michael Oku. And that excites a certain audience, right? The casuals are still, I think, probably where the money's at, but it depends what you're trying to do. I'm trying to create content for the wrestling fan base, which I think is not just a niche in the UK, but the worldwide niche, which is a larger proportion of followers of audience reach, I should say. But to do that, it's about looking at other revenue streams. Okay, are we making enough on ticket sales to, for example, invest more time into it? Probably not. So we have to look at sponsorship deals. We have to look at what we can do on demand or YouTube, or how we build that to a point where it's financially a real revenue stream for us, where we are a proper profit-making business, or we can bring some staff on more roles to kind of excel our process, because that's what we want to do. So when I look at, can it stand on its own? On show quality, absolutely yes. But as a complete scene, I don't believe so, because you're still seeing now promotions go under because they can't afford their bills. And that shouldn't be frowned upon, because these people are taking a risk. And I think it's easy to hammer people for doing bad business. And look, 1PW situation is what it is. But Stephen Courtney shot for the stars again. He nearly got there, but outside influences stopped him from continuing, right? And that money disappeared. But he was still generating a lot of money. So it could have been something. And he shot for the stars, and he showed what could happen if you do that. But there's a lot of others that are trying to sell 150 tickets and sell 10. And they've got a bill, they've got pull the curtain back, they've probably got a wage bill and venue hire and ring hire and production hire. They've probably got a 2-3 grand bill that they're trying to pay, and they can't. And a lot of the time it's like, well, you shouldn't do this if you haven't got the money. But that's what promoting is. You promote to try and generate the money to pay for the thing.
Take, yeah.
It is. It's a risk, and it's okay to have that money for the first show. But if you don't do well, what do you just give up, or do you then push for the second? And then suddenly you are in trouble because it's not clicked. And you see a lot as well. Now we've gone into it with finance, but we've gone into it. There's still an element of risk. There's still an element that if it doesn't do well, that I would have to dip into business finances to elsewhere to pay for things. So I don't think anything it can stand its own as us as IWN. I know we have to. Luckily, this next run dates, they stand alone. They're okay, but there will be times when it won't, and we'll have to dip. But that's on me keeping my motivation and understanding what the long-term goal is, rather than going show by show. My long-term goal is to have 150,000 subscribers on the YouTube channel, and that 150,000 subscribers earn us money to invest into IWM. So if that's my goal, this is my outlay, and I'm happy to take that risk. But a lot of people just want to put on wrestling shows, and I think that's okay, but that sometimes can cause bad feeling with towns and venues and what have you. I had a venue contact me this week. They're like, oh, I'm not too sure, Bill. We know you from the music industry, but we're not too sure because we've had a situation with X where they've pulled out on us a week before the show. So there's still elements to it, but I think there's elements like that across most businesses, if I'm honest.
Yeah, no, you are right. You are right. I mean, just finishing up, Billy, what advice would you give to anyone that, like, we're lucky. We talk to many wrestling promoters. I'm off to Apex Wrestling tonight to their new training facility. So I know how hard it is to promote a wrestling show. I know how hard you guys work. what advice would you give to people wanting to get into the wrestling industry? We always ask this all the time. It's like, oh, how did you start doing what you do? How did you get involved? And like, you're now doing this with that. You know, we're always asked our advice on how we do like podcasting and how we do what we do.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to any promoters or anyone wanting to get into the wrestling industry? If you like knowing what you know now, what would you say to them?
Have a lot of passion, have a lot of belief, be prepared to lose. Don't come into it thinking you're going to become a millionaire overnight, because you're not. Don't think you'll become a thousandaire. Don't even think you might even not even earn 100 quid on the show. Be prepared to lose, but ask yourself, what's the purpose? So a lot of people said to me, Bill, why are you doing it again? You know, 2019, like you really suffered, and it did. It affected my mental health, if I'm honest. And it really did, Andy, in the sense of it used to play on my mind, because I'm a proud man, and not doing well or not being able to look after the people that you want to look after hurts, right? It really, really does. So I would say, what's the purpose? Like, first thing, why you do? Oh, I want to do it because I want to be Paul Heyman, or I want to be Vince McMahon, or I want to. No one wants to be Vince McMahon anymore, but you know, like, yeah, exactly. But you know, I want to have my own promotion. I want to play. I want to play. You know, wrestling promoter simulator. Right? It's not easy. It's not easy. We've seen some short-term successes of people who want to do that, but actually, you need the long term. And I think my advice would be, have that purpose. IWN has restarted for a purpose. Two purposes. One, I want to create a real content-driven digital imprint for British wrestling that can then tap into the international. That's why it's still international. I called IPW International Pro Wrestling, and without the UK thing, because I wanted it to have elements of Europe, America, Mexico, Australia, and have that. And an International Wrestling Network, again, with our shows coming up, you can see that. And obviously the shows that we've had, that we are having that international element to it. So you've got to have a purpose. And my purpose is, one, provide great content, and two, prove that I wasn't a flash in the pan. I think with an ego a little bit, and that.
I think you've got to have an ego to be in wrestling.
Yeah, I agree.
I think you've got to have a certain amount of ego about you to be. It's the small time. Me and Adam have been doing this for just over 2 years now, and I've learned in wrestling you do have to have a thick skin, and it's not all, you know, sunshine and roses. You know, we've had setbacks doing this, and I mean, we're very lucky to where we are now. You know, we just signed with Progress 2 days ago.
I saw. That's amazing.
Yeah,
amazing.
So you know, I would never have thought just a normal wrestling fan that I was 2 years ago. I thought, oh, let's just do a podcast, and now we're here where we are. So yeah, it isn't. A thing I say to people is, don't think you can hit the record button on Monday and have success on Tuesday.
No way.
You've got to build your brand.
Well, I remember, and so when I was flying with IPW, we put the show on sale, and I sell 100 tickets in a day, right? And it'd be, you know, MK every month. We would do anywhere between 100 to 140 tickets, and it'd be ruckus and crazy. And it was our monthly kind of addition to. Was that me or you?
No, nothing my end, mate.
Let's see what that is. Sorry
That's
about
right.
that.
You're good, mate.
That's actually Andy Ward, my production guy, calling me. So
there you go. Hang on, Andy. It'll be 5 minutes.
Yeah, Andy, hold on. But you know, I look at it like this, and we were doing great, and I put shows on sale now, and it's a graft. It's a graft, right? Because people, you know, you've got to build brand confidence again, and I'm so excited for Milton Keynes, and it might not sell out. It might not be 140 people in there. It might be 90. It might be 100 people in Unit 9 again. But to be back and show what we're back in that market, and then be ready to go again, and rebuild that relight that flame that we had there, means a lot to me, because I think it can be a real stomping ground for what we do. And those shows, some of those moments, if you look back from Will Ospreay, Pete Dunne, Will Ospreay, Kip Sabian, to, you know, the NWA World Heavyweight Championship being defended in that building, to, you know, from Tyler Bate to Moose winning the title, to, you know, Mastiff versus Keith Lee, to
Yeah, some big names.
To all those moments, right? Like, you know, you look at those moments and you go, actually, we created some crazy, crazy, crazy content, and it was loved and it was exciting, and we can do that again. And the purpose isn't to recreate the history. The purpose is to create a new, a new feeling, a new era. And James Ellis sits at the top of that tree because we feel that he is the guy that can, you know, he's not top of the British wrestling table right now as a #1 star, but nor was Kip Sabian when we made him champion. Absolutely not. Nor was Rob Sharp, you know, nor was Rob Lynch. But we try to back people that we believe that can strap the brand on their shoulder and take it forward. And we believe James is one of those guys.
Well, mate, it's been a pleasure getting to hear your journey, hear about IWN. All being well, next Thursday, myself and Chris will be coming down from the Hitting the Turnbuckle.
Yes.
You're literally 10 minutes up the road, mate. I can drive there in 10 minutes, but I'll speak to you about that. I'll speak to you about that off air, mate. But just tell our listeners where they can get tickets, where they can find you, Twitter handles, Facebook. Just plug all your socials, mate. Where can we find the good content that you're putting out right now?
So there's a massively great thing called Linktree now, where you just go.
So good, isn't it?
So, yeah, so just literally it's www.iwnlive.net, and all the links for all our socials are on there. Our YouTube channel, each ticketing show as well, they're all on there. Milton Keynes, I think we have about 40 tickets left for that. So really would love people to come and support that. And I'm sure we'll have a quite an influx late for that one as well. I'm noticing lately ticket sales are later. We get a real rush through the door at the start and a real rush at the end, and nothing in the middle, which makes you panic. So that's doing well. At Hastings, we've got like 9 tickets left, so we'll be sold out there hopefully by show day. And yeah, we just go and check out our content. Actually, go and see what we've done, because what we've done, we're gonna do, and we're gonna be buzzing. So we're not going anywhere. There's gonna be a lot of shows this year in Kent, Milton Keynes, and Sussex. We're going to hopefully announce another Sussex location, a midweek show in a city that has missed wrestling for a long time, and we're going back there and we're going to put in a hell of a show. So yeah, it's exciting times.
Billy, I wish you nothing but success, mate. Like I say, all being well, I'll catch up with you in person next Thursday.
Yes,
in Milton Keynes, mate. I'll drop you a text after we've done this, and we'll figure it all out. Hitting the Turnbuckle, would love to come down, and I'd love to come down and cover the event. Thank you so much, mate. We're going to be back later today. We've got Heath Slater coming on our show later today with myself and Adam. But as always, make sure you go and check out all our socials at HTT Buckle on Twitter, Hitting the Turnbuckle YouTube channel. Absolutely flying now. Thanks everyone for your support. But Billy, it's been a pleasure, mate. I'll catch up with you soon, mate. Like you say, go and check out IWN. Really good to have you guys back in the fold, mate. Thank God you're in Milton Keynes. Like I say, 10 minutes up the road. Really easy peasy for me. But this has been the Hitting the Turnbuckle. I've been your host, Andy Burrows. Till next time, everybody, buckle down and stay safe.